Hey there, it's me Eden. Welcome to my channel. If you're new to the channel, then please consider subscribing and please support my work, and buy me a coffee worth $1 only. Support link in the comment, thanks. When we girls all went to lunch, everybody wanted to know about my boyfriend. I told them what little I knew about him, and with little to sustain the topic, the conversation changed to other subjects. For the rest of the afternoon, I thought about what I would say when Sean called me tonight. After most of the company had left for the evening, I was sitting at the computer entering some notes when Debbie came up behind me. She pulled my hair back and kissed me on my ear. "Do you want a ride home?" she asked. "That would be great." "Thanks, Debbie. I'll be done in a minute." I finished up the page that I was working on and shut off the computer. After retrieving my purse, Debbie and I left the theater. She said as we walked towards the parking lot, "Crystal, you really look sexy today. If I didn't know you before your change, I would never believe it. And I don't know why it turns me on like it does." She took my hand as we walked. We got into her little Toyota and she drove me home. She asked, "Are we still on for tomorrow night? Unless you've changed your mind." "Not in your life. I'll see you at the theater tomorrow." She leaned over and kissed me on the mouth as she squeezed my thigh. I got out of the car and walked to the door. Debbie watched me the whole way. When I reached the door, she was still looking at me. I waved and turned as I opened the door. As I closed the door, I saw her drive off. I walked upstairs and put my purse in my room. Carol's door was open a bit and I saw her sitting on the bed looking at a magazine. I knocked and she said to come in. "Carol, you set me up this morning. You knew that Sean was going to happen to drive by, didn't you?" She smiled widely and said, "Sorry, sis. He really wanted to see you, but I thought that you were reluctant to talk with him. He's a really nice guy. I think that you should go out with him." "Did he ask you?" "Yes, he wants to double with you and Pete." "Did you say yes, or no?" "I told him to call me tonight and I'd let him know." "Anne, I don't think that I should." "Come on, sis. Do it for me. I really want to go out with Pete, and he may not go if Sean doesn't have a date. Please, Crystal?" So here I was, on the spot once again. I didn't want to go out with Sean, but Carol was pleading with me to go. She had been so wonderful throughout my predicament that I couldn't say no to her. And I still needed her to help me every morning and evening. So I gave in and said yes. After all, as Barbara had said, Sean wouldn't be expecting to have sex with me on a first date. We were simply going to a movie. We wouldn't even be dancing or anything. I felt that I would be able to sit in a movie theater next to Sean for a couple of hours. I would even hold his hand if he wanted me to. At almost exactly 8 o'clock, Sean called. I was in my room reading at the time. Mom called me from downstairs. When I reached the top of the stairs, she said that my boyfriend was on the phone. I grimaced and walked downstairs to take the call. Carol had heard Mom calling me and followed me downstairs. She hovered around me while I spoke to Sean. We talked small talk for a while, and then Sean asked me if I would be able to go out Saturday night to the movies. I swallowed hard and said that I was free, and that I would love to go to the movies with him. Carol hugged and squeezed me silently. I talked with Sean for about another hour. Once I had committed myself, I relaxed and enjoyed my conversation with him. We talked about the current movies and which ones we would like to see. I discovered that we had similar tastes. After we had said goodnight, I walked back upstairs to my bedroom. Carol came in and hugged me again. Thanks, sis. I know that you're a little nervous about going on your first date with a boy, but I'm sure that we'll have a good time. Pete and Sean are both great guys. Come on, let's go into my room and decide what we're going to wear Saturday night. We spent the next 2 hours talking about and trying on clothes. When it started to get late, Carol helped me to get ready for bed. I looked forward to tomorrow morning when I would get to wear my other corset. It was much more comfortable than this one was. I giggled to myself as I thought about actually looking forward to wearing a corset. After I had completed all of my bedtime activities, I climbed into bed and thought about the upcoming weekend. It promised to be an interesting one. I was going out on a date with a boy. That was something that I had never expected to be saying. I also had a date with Debbie for Friday night. And in between, before and after, I had my commitment to the theater production. It was going to be a busy time. After mulling over all of the events in my mind, I finally rolled onto my side and went to sleep. Next morning, things started at a hectic pace. We hurried through breakfast and I shortened my bath time because Mom was taking me to the doctor's office. Carol laced me down to the point of stopping my breathing, as usual. While I concentrated on just breathing, she dressed me. Another tight sheath and very high heels made up my outfit for the day. At least my corset didn't cut into me as much as the alternate one did. I had also had a chance to clean this one after having worn it for 5 days. Carol and I had done our nails last night while we were in her room, so after doing my makeup and brushing my hair, I was ready to go. I grabbed my purse and went downstairs. Mom was ready and waiting. We arrived at the medical office building, just minutes before our appointment. We took the elevator up to the 3rd floor and walked down to the end of the corridor. I read the sign on the door as Mom reached for the doorknob. It said the Dr. Alicia Danvers, OB-GYN. I asked Mom, what's OB-GYN mean? It means obstetrics and gynecology, dear. What are they? Obstetrics is the care of women during and after pregnancy. Gynecology has to do with women's physiology and reproductive capability. I thought that we'd be going to a regular doctor. Alicia is a regular doctor. She just specializes in women's health problems. She also happens to be a personal friend who I trust not to talk about your situation. Okay, Mom. You're right. Discretion is important. We walked into the doctor's outer office and went to the receptionist's window. Mom said, "Hello, Susan Ramsey and Crystal Ramsey to see Dr. Danvers." "Yes, Mrs. Ramsey. The doctor is expecting you." "You're right on time. You may go into examination room B, the doctor will be right with you." We walked down the short corridor to the door marked to B and went inside. A woman in a lab coat came in just after us. She and Mom embraced and touched cheeks. Mom said, "Alicia, thank you for taking us on such short notice. I was worried about Crystal and wanted you to have a look at her." "Of course, Susan." "Crystal, take your dress off, dear." I started to undress as Mom and Dr. Danvers talked. When I had removed my dress and slip, Dr. Danvers turned her attention back to me. She said, "Crystal, take your bra off too, dear." I complied while she got her stethoscope. She put the stethoscope against my chest. A second later she stepped back and looked at me strangely. Are they synthetic? Mom said, yes. It's what I wanted you to look at. I wanted your opinion about the adhesive used. Do you think that there could be any problems with toxicity? The breasts were only supposed to be on for 1 day. The adhesive solvent didn't work and we can't reach the manufacturer because the factory is closed for vacation until the 19th. How long have they been on? Since the 3rd. Last Saturday. Dr. Danvers examined my breasts closely. I see no sign of infection or even irritation. I think that they will be okay until the 19th. If you have any soreness or see any redness around the area, come in to see me immediately, Crystal. Okay, Dr. Danvers. Dr. Danvers then took a blood sample. She said to Mom, Susan, I was unaware that you had 2 daughters. I only knew about Carol. How many children do you have? Just 2. But I thought that you had a son also. Only until last Saturday, the 3rd. What do you mean? You don't mean? Mom nodded her head. No. This can't be your son? This is Crystal. She was Carrie until last Saturday. Dr. Danvers just stood and stared at me for several seconds. She said, it's amazing. I thought that she was just using the breast forms to enhance her natural shape. She looked at me and said, Crystal. I'm sorry, do you prefer Carrie or Crystal? I thought about it for a second. It would be better not to have anybody associate my birth name with this body if they heard the doctor talking about me, or, when she was talking to the lab, so I said, Crystal, please, Dr. Danvers. Very well, Crystal. Did you apply the breast forms yourself? No, the wardrobe lady at the theater put them on. But then the solvent didn't work, so I've remained as Crystal since last Saturday. I see. You can get dressed now, Crystal. Thank you, Dr. Danvers. While I dressed, Mom and Dr. Danvers talked about personal matters. When I was done, Dr. Danvers invited Mom to talk with her in her office. Mom said, Crystal, why don't you wait in the outer office for me? There are a lot of magazines in the rack out there. Okay, Mom. I sat and read while Mom and Dr. Danvers visited. After about 45 minutes, Mom finally came out and we left. She drove me to the theater and dropped me off near the stage door entrance. I kissed her, goodbye, and went into the theater. I was later than normal, so I hurried to make the coffee before Mr. Tucker arrived. It had just finished dripping when he came in. I poured a cup and brought it to him. Ah, the ebony elixir that sustains my life. Thank you, my dear. May I say that you are looking exceedingly lovely today, Crystal? Did you have a chance to complete the script notes? Yes, Mr. Tucker. They're in your notebook. Wonderful. Thank you, my dear. You are as efficient as you are beautiful. Would you please pass the word that we will start the rehearsals of Act 3 in half an hour? Yes, sir. I walked around and notified the cast, then wrote a note and posted it on the stage door bulletin board for any newly arriving cast members. When the rehearsals started, I again filled in for missing cast members. Since this was a comedy, we exerted a great deal of effort working on our comedic timing. Mr. Tucker was a perfectionist and a born comedian. He always elicited laughs when he came on stage to show a cast member how to play a scene. I felt very lucky to be able to observe and learn from his acting and comedy skills. I couldn't help but wonder why he hadn't been a successful stage or screen personality himself. After lunch, I was called upon to fill in for the actress playing Prudy, the 19-year-old love interest of young Captain Martin. I spent most of the afternoon clutched in Captain Martin's arms, and part of that time bent over backwards in his embrace. Mr. Tucker kept telling us that the first act and the third act are the most important, and must be absolutely perfect. He would say, the first act draws them into the play, and the characters. The third, or final, act sends them home feeling good about having seen, and paid to see, the play. At the end of the third act, Captain Martin kisses Miss Prudy. When the actor playing Captain Martin resisted, Mr. Tucker came up on stage and demonstrated what he wanted. He pulled me over backwards and, cradling me in his arms, pressed his lips to mine and kissed me for a full 10 seconds. When he straightened me up, he looked at Captain Martin and said, "See how simple that was. You just touch your lips to hers. It's called a kiss. If we have a successful play, the audience will applaud as you kiss. You hold the kiss until they stop. Understand? If they applaud for 10 minutes, you kiss for 10 minutes and 1 second. Yes, I see," said Captain Martin. "It's just that Crystal is." He struggled awkwardly looking for the words. Please subscribe for the next part, and visit my Patreon page for early access. Patreon.com/Eden07. Link in the comment, thanks. Please subscribe for the next part, and visit my Patreon page for early access. Patreon.com/Eden07. Link in the comment, thanks.